What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Forge Core Gaming. I'm your host, Phoenix, and today we're diving straight into things with a review of the MISC Starlancer TAC. If you're wondering why we're doing this review so late after its debut, well, that's because I wanted to give CIG a chance to do a round of much-needed adjustments on it, which they did, and now that it's done, I feel like we can properly assess the ship overall. On that note, I won't be spending a whole bunch of time on things like the interior of the ship, as I've already done an interior tour of the ship when it launched, and that hasn't changed at all since it came out during Invictus Launch Week 2025. If you want to take a look at the interior though, I've gone ahead and linked that video in the description of this one. The intention of this video is more along the lines of a performance review with a special focus on stats, usability, and viability of the Starlancer TAC now that it's undergone its first round of performance adjustments, which were mostly focused around speed and maneuverability, as well as some tweaking of gun performance. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel as a free way of helping us grow. But without further ado, let's get into it. Let's kick things off by talking about the TAC's speed and maneuverability, because performance in flight is one of the first impressions a ship makes. Originally, the TAC wasn't what I'd call agile. It moved at a cruise speed of 110 meters per second and could boost up to 305. The rotational stats were 27 degrees per second on both pitch and yaw, and 60 on roll. It flew like a bulky utility vehicle, and to be fair, it was packed with functionality, but back then, you definitely felt the weight. Now, it's a bit of a different story. The updated stats bring the cruise speed up to 150 meters per second, with boost capping out at 315 meters per second. Rotation has also been improved across the board, now at 32, 32, 72 degrees per second respectively, and for context, this is on a ship that stretches out to 90 meters long. Let's compare that to a couple of similar sized ships to give you a sense of where it stands. The Constellation Tourist from Roberts Space Industries clocks in at a cruise speed of 200 meters per second and a 400 meter per second boost speed, with rotational agility at 30, 30, 60 degrees per second respectively, and it's just 70 meters in length. It's shorter and it's a bit quicker, but with fewer onboard features. Then we have the 600i from Origin Jumpworks, which cruises at 165 meters per second and boosts up to 325 meters per second, but turns far more sluggishly at just 19, 19, and 30 degrees per second respectively, despite being almost the exact same length as the TAC. Taking all that into account, I think the TAC lands in a pretty balanced position. The lower SEM speed is a fair trade for what you get with all the amenities on board. This isn't just a stripped down hull that's meant for speedruns, it's a ship with the purpose in every corridor. In terms of how it flies, I'd describe it as nimble for its class. Now, I do want to acknowledge my baseline might be a little bit off at this point. I fly the Idris fairly often, so most things feel agile by comparison. But the truth is, the TAC has come a long way from its original sluggish behavior. Back then, piloting it felt like dragging a house through molasses. Today, it feels purposeful, manageable, and even enjoyable in the right hands. Now, let's move into the realm of combat and break down what the ship can actually do when the shooting starts. The TAC, on paper, is armed to the teeth. With turrets positioned across a wide range of firing arcs, you'll find weapons on the front, sides, and almost underneath, offering solid multi-angle coverage. With the recent capacitor rework, if you manage your aiming and timing, you can unleash a serious amount of firepower. Each gun carries about 140 rounds per full capacitor charge, so the sustained damage is pretty respectable. In terms of raw numbers, if you go all in with attrition repeaters on the pilot-controlled guns, you're looking at around 2,464 DPS from the pilot alone, and the theoretical combined DPS, if you factor in all the ship's turrets, tops out at around 9,028 DPS. That's not including missiles though. But let's temper expectations a little bit. In practical scenarios, you're not going to get every turret firing on the same target unless you're extremely deliberate with positioning. Even then, I don't actually think it's possible. Some turrets just won't have line of sight. Realistically, you're more likely to apply 4,000 to 5,000 damage per second in most combat encounters, depending on the target size, angle, and whether your gunners are active and coordinated. Also, attritions aren't necessarily the best match for this platform. Specifically, when discussing the two top turrets, I would argue that the attritions are the objectively wrong choice, as those turrets feel like they're intended for fighter screening, and a talented fighter pilot can pretty handily outmaneuver a gunner using attritions. On the contrary, I would favor guns with a higher projectile velocity and would gladly give up a substantial amount of theoretical DPS in favor of landing a much higher percentage of my shots. Then there's the question of turret effectiveness. The broadside guns are visually cool and thematically exciting, but when it comes to space combat, they often don't make much of a difference. Where they could be useful in ground target engagements, say strafing a fortified outpost or pounding a planetary POI, unfortunately, the game just isn't structured to reward that kind of approach yet. On the defensive side, though, the TAC really pulls its weight, as it comes stock with two size 3 shields, offering a very healthy 126,800 shield HP in a quadrant configuration. That means it doesn't just soak damage, it distributes it all pretty well. Add in over 116,000 hull HP, and you're looking at a ship that can really effectively hold the line in medium level engagements. This isn't a glass cannon, it's more like a dependable brawler, able to get into the thick of it and stick around long enough for its crew to do their jobs. Now let's talk about what the ship is intended for, because while it's marketed as a tactical dropship, its actual uses go well beyond that role. To me, the TAC is one of the best general purpose ships in its class. It supports a variety of roles without forcing you into a specific playstyle. Here's what it does pretty well. Medium cargo hauling. It's not a dedicated freighter, but it does have 96 SU of storage, though the layout is a bit awkward, but it's still usable, so you can use that to generate some income in game. Ground mission support. Specifically, bunker runs, outpost raids, and surface exploration will all feel very natural here, given the suite of amenities on board the TAC. POI exploration, which with the rise of more intricate ground points of interest, the TAC has become a strong option for groups who want to get in, complete objectives, and get out. Scavenging and loot hauling. Between cargo space and external storage points, it's very functional for after-action cleanup, and you can really do well for going to POIs and scavenging pieces off of dead or abandoned ships. Vehicle deployment. The integrated garage supports rovers without eating into your cargo space, which is perfect for parking away from a hot zone and driving in under the radar, if you choose to avoid conflict by way of mitigating the odds that your ship is found. Medical support. The onboard medbed is easily one of the standout features in this class. If someone on your team drops mid-mission, having in-ship respawn is a total game changer, and you can also use it to patch yourself up if you get tier 3 injuries. It also supports a sizable crew. With proper coordination, it becomes a great option for friends or small org groups who want a multi-crew experience without going full capital. Now let's talk about the limitations. In the world of combat scalability, it struggles against large groups of light fighters or ships that can put out a lot of damage in a small period of time, such as the Hammerhead. As such, while VHRT missions are well within reach, ERTs become risky without strong coordination and positioning, primarily because the TAC is just outclassed, again, by high damage output ships that can converge a high percentage of their weapons on a single slow-moving target. And let's be real, some of the features sound great on paper, but don't deliver in practice. A couple that come to mind would be the Fury Hangar. It's novel, it's fun, but it's not terribly useful, not yet at least. Deployment of a Fury is a bit clunky, and maintaining a Fury pilot adds complexity most players don't want to deal with during a typical mission. Until, of course, ship hangars and docking systems get smoothed out, this is more of a gimmick than it is a feature. Then we move on to the jump seats and dropship layout. It's nice to have the option, especially with new POIs popping up in Pyro, but in most cases, players are just going to bring their own ships rather than just pile into jump seats unless the mission explicitly would benefit from it, and right now there aren't any missions like that. Still, in the future, there's potential if dropship gameplay actually gets fully fleshed out and expanded correctly. On the other hand, there are a few features that truly shine for me in the Starlancer TAC, namely the vehicle garage without the loss of cargo grid. This is a huge plus, whether you're delivering aid, driving into a bunker, or just parking outside turret range. This garage makes a major difference in mission planning when ground assets are needed. Then we move on to the medical bed. This is easily one of the most valuable inclusions. It provides a real alternative to ships like the Cutlass Red or the Medical Terrapin. So you have medical gameplay options at not only a different size and class of ship, but without being in a dedicated medical ship. So you have medical bed capabilities in a multi-role ship. For long ops or exploration or org runs where there's a high chance of death, this is a total game changer. Now, whether you've got 3 friends or 6, this ship really does well with a coordinated crew. Now, I would argue that it's actually crew dependent, but overall, I think this is a great choice of ship if you have a group of friends from 4 to 6 people who maybe don't want to bring out a capital ship or don't have access to one. A lot of players would probably enjoy grouping up on this as their like one crew, one ship kind of adventure vessel, and take turns piloting and manning the turrets. Obviously, there are going to be those downsides that we mentioned earlier, but I think, again, the right group of people will get a lot of enjoyment out of this. Just don't expect the TAC to be particularly useful at any form of combat. It's very middle of the road in that regard. As I mentioned earlier, the TAC isn't the best ship in any single category, but it doesn't have to be. It earns its place by being a multi-role platform that enables shared gameplay. It brings functionality, flexibility, and a good deal of fun to crews who want to experience more of what Star Citizen has to offer without needing something like a capital ship. Yes, it has its drawbacks, but in my opinion, it redeems itself in most cases. Overall, I'm going to rate this ship a 7.5 out of 10. It's great for groups, it engages in multiple gameplay loops, it's durable and dependable. It's just not great for combat, and sometimes some of the gameplay features aren't terribly useful. Bottom line, you're going to get a lot of use out of it, especially if you lean into its strengths and bring the right crew along for the ride. And yeah, that's what I got. I think this is a good place to end the review. If you enjoyed the video, I'd like to take a moment and ask that you hit that subscribe button as a free way to support our channel's growth. Also, hit the like button to help the YouTube algorithm know that we did a good job. Finally, don't forget to leave a comment with the ship you want to see reviewed by us here at ForgeCore. As always, thank you all very much for watching, fly safe out there, and I'll see you in the verse. Phoenix out.